Hi everyone, here's an in-depth look at Brands Hatch in the Formula 3. Note the weather here is not default. I noticed VRS are running 65 Fahrenheit this week, so I thought I'd use that as a benchmark to see where I was pace-wise. I'm running the car in high downforce configuration, which is just basically a modified default high downforce, tyre pressures up, wing levels up, but still only 40.8% aero balance, which is fairly conservative. I softened the front and changed the rear roll bars and basically just put the front end down to give it a bit more grip. Drivetrain stays the same. It's a very lightly modified high downforce set, so not much going on there. Now on entry in here, you want to be braking in a straight line towards the outside of the track, using basically all the track and then looping in and making sure you get the first apex. If you miss the apex, you lose a lot of time. And if you don't want to hit the apex either, as this car would probably just spin. So you're bringing it in close to the apex, then quickly getting on the throttle and pushing the car out, not into the dirt, just on the track. Fairly simple turn one, but it takes a bit of practice to hit that apex every time. And then coming into turn two, I'm braking in a straight line at roughly the 50 meter marker. And you're wanting to get the car back into a later internal apex here. So I'm not worried about the apex at the start of the corner. Just looping it around and getting the car pointed fairly straight before getting back on the throttle. Now, when you get back on the throttle, the car's at this point, it should be touching the apex here, and you're getting close, you're holding it down at the curb. And then once you can get it mostly straight on exit, you can ease the throttle up, and it will drive it in a straight line out towards the outside of the track. Now, I picked up a bit of exit oversteer there, which seems to be the quickest way out of the corner. You kind of have to agitate the car on exit a little bit. That's fairly normal in the Formula 3. So you want to drive here, and this little off-coloured outside strip, you can drive out and on it, then you turn in. Now you're always wanting the car to go over this bump. It's very important to turn in from out sort of off the track, but not getting an off track because that bit of off-coloured grass counts as part of the track, and then directly over this curb. Then you're pushing it out again to the off-coloured grass. This is part of the track here, so you need to, so you're entering from wide. I'll get an overhead shot to better show the line. It's always one of the last ones I go to. Entering from out wide, over that curb, and then exiting wide. The grass will catch you. Now, you really need to make sure the car is stable enough to run the curb. As this track, although you need a lot of front grip because there's a lot of high-speed corners, it has to be able to ride them. And if you can't ride those curbs, then you're going to be in for a bad time here. Braking at roughly the 50 meter marker. Now I'm braking straight towards the outside of the track. And you're wanting to enter and make sure you touch this inside curb, get right to the apex, but you have to enter from wide, so you take a really wide sweeping line in, and it's quite tricky as the camber of the corner. If you push wide on entry and miss the apex, it will really push you out. If you try and get in the throttle quickly, it will catch you on the outside curb, but if you go into shallow and hit the inside curb, then it will really also muck up your lap. So you've got to be braking. And realistically, you want the front wheels just to skim this line. Just touched it, then I can get back on the throttle hard and push the car out. Use all the track, but not get much up on the curb. That's a good entry. Now through here, flat, in this colder weather in a high downforce configuration, not lifting. Just turning the car from the very outside of the track, bringing it into the apex, and holding it flat. If you enter from the mid-track, of course you can't do it. If you enter from as wide as you can, it's fine. Now coming up here, before the 50 meter marker, you're braking and turning in. Now you want to enter the corner at a shallow angle. Basically the line is across this inside curb and then pushing the car right out past the outside of the track. If you turn in late, you're going to lose a lot of time. You have to really turn in shallow and use this inside curbing, pushing it out and get it back. Now this curb here is quite difficult on this car. They can catch it quite aggressively, and if you have a setup that's a bit unstable for how you drive the car, you can't really launch it off that outside curb very well. As you go out here and you start getting on the throttle, and the car will really start moving around, and you lose a lot of time doing that. So I'm not back to full throttle until I'm half off it. Sort of the same sort of corner here again. You're entering from as far wide as you can, braking a little bit, and taking in narrow entry. Sorry. Take two. So yeah, entering narrow, taking narrow entry up over this inside bit of the grass, hitting it with quite a lot of force, then pushing the car out wide. Now there's no runoff off the track here, but you still have to use basically all the track. So you're getting hard back on the throttle the second you're over this corner and just pushing it out. Now the car will be slightly unsettled by going over that curb so aggressively, and you've really got to use all the outside track. Now coming up here, I'm braking at or after the 50 meter board, and you're braking in a straight line. You're wanting to take quite a late apex, so you don't bring it in early here, you bring it in late. Just touch up on that inside curb and accelerate out. Don't let the car go out and get stuck on the outside curb. You can lose a lot of time doing that. You've really got to make sure you get the inside apex around here. And just when you've put together the rest of the lap, here comes the final corner, which can actually catch you. So I'm wanting to brake a little bit and go down in a fifth. You can sort of let it bounce off the limiter in fifth. I'm not completely on it, but I prefer to upshift and downshift for whatever reason. And you're aiming it, you're just basically throwing it at that inside apex. So down to fifth, throw it in. The front tyre should hit up around here. And then you're hard back on the throttle and pushing the car out. If you carry a bit too much speed on entry, or you hit that inside curb and unsettle it, it's very easy to end up off in that sand pit out there. But that lap I didn't. This is one of the best sections on the track if you put it all together smoothly. You carry a lot of speed for this corner. Kicks a little bit on the throttle. Just down one and throw it in. And that's a lap, which was a 12.8. But as this is not TT weather, it's not really representative of what you'll be expected to run to be competitive. And here's lap and full speed.